Watching TV has changed over time. Streaming has become the new norm. That's why Golden State Media Concepts television podcast dives headfirst to the world of cord cutting. Want to be on the loop of what's hot in Netflix? Or if it's not a preference, what about original shows in Hulu? We've got you covered. Join us as we fill in the blanks and talk about movies to stream and what show you should be binging. This is the Golden State Media Concepts television podcast.
Greetings, good people of the planet Earth and the known universe. You are listening to Golden State Media Concepts television podcast. This is your Captain Keith. And on deck today, as I promised you, more of Charmed, the new 2018 reboot. I want to talk some more about the new series. And yes, folks, I did it. I watched Daredevil season 3 on Netflix, and it was worth it. We'll say that for last. I want to get into that. We're going to talk about that, and we're going to talk about both in as much detail as possible. So hopefully everybody had a good Halloween last week, and let's dig in. So the most recent episode of Charmed that I watched is called Exercise Your Demons. So now, mind you, we spoke about this last week. So this Charmed stars Melanie Diaz, Madeleine Mantock, and Sarah Jeffrey, and 3 sisters, the Charmed ones. That means that they're basically like the most powerful witches ever, because they're sisters and they have the power of 3. 3 is a magic number anyway when it comes to magic and folklore. You know, De La Soul even had a song off the first album, 3, that's the magic number. Yes, it is. For those of you who know who De La Soul is, you know. But anyway, getting back to Charmed. So, Exercise Your Demons. So this episode basically picks up where the Halloween episode left off from over a week ago. Basically, there is this girl who got possessed by the Harbinger of Death, apparently. And it looks like it's Angela. Okay. Angela Wu, I believe. Yeah, she's the one who got possessed by the Harbinger of Death. Yes. And her real name is Leah Lewis, apparently. And so basically what's going on is that the girl's white lighter, Harry, you know, who's basically like their advisor. And it seems like I said last week, in the Charmed universe, so far I haven't seen warlocks. And I think if I remember in the old school original Charmed, if there were warlocks, they were automatically evil. So that was kind of, if I remember correctly. But so far, if you're a man with magical power and you're the good guy, you're a white lighter. So I have to think more about how I think of that term. But the actor who plays Harry does a great job. And I'm looking for his name. Let's see. Harry Greenwood, that's the name of the white lighter, and his real name is Rupert Evans. So yeah, he does a great job as their advisor. So as I said before, the names had been changed. Usually you would say the names have been changed to protect the innocent, like on Dragnet, but no, it's not like that at all. But I feel like saying that anyway. Anyway, so picking up where the Halloween party left off at, you know, at the Halloween party, the Harbinger of Death, or just the Harbinger, was that demon's job was to consume like purity and innocence and consume it and eat it and kill it. So, and the Harbinger is not at full power yet, but once they're at full power, they're unstoppable and they can just basically plague the whole earth and just take over and cause the end of the world. You know, that's all. A little coffee table conversation. So Harry is telling the girls, the sisters, telling Mel, Macy, and Maggie, look, we can't do anything with the harbinger of death. The elders will tell us what to do. You know, there is a chain of command, and the elders are the chain of command. We do what they say. They're basically like royalty. So, and Harry takes that very seriously. So now, what's interesting is, like, as I was saying last week, so Mel is she's the middle sister. She's kind of the more aggressive one with some anger management issues. She has the power to freeze, to stop time. Her equivalent on the old school series was Piper Halliwell, played by Holly Marie Combs. Macy has the power of telekinesis, so she can move things with her mind, and that was the same power that Prue Halliwell had, played by Shannon Doherty. And Maggie Vera is an empath; she can read your thoughts. That was the same power that Phoebe Halliwell, who was played by Alyssa Milano, had from the original series. So that's the three of those are their core powers, but the Book of Shadows is their book where has all like the master spells. It's like if there's a book of like all the spells ever, that's the Book of Shadows. That's a pretty cool name, pretty cool book. I can dig it. I like it. So even though the girls, they all have powers that are tuned into their emotions and their personality, when they can cast a spell by, on their own, by using the book, but because they're witches, but they can also, when they hold hands and cast a spell, it's a wrap. You're going to take an L. Just saying. So what's cool is, like I said, Mel is, she's assertive, she's aggressive, she's not going to be trifled with. Very strong person. And I like that. Sometimes I think she goes a little overboard, but I guess that's kind of a part of what's going on with the show. Because when you watch any show that's going to be a hit, you don't want your characters to be perfect because they're boring. So, yeah, she's aggressive. She's a teacher. She works at the university. She's very passionate. She's all about, equality and fairness. So that's what I like about her. Like I said, my only concern with her character, and then with Macy's character, the older sister, who was given up, So Mel and Maggie, their last names are Vera, so they're Hispanic. Macy Vaughn, their older sister, she's half black. So, and she's the oldest, and like I said, she was given away. So I'm looking at the writers. Like I said, I like the show, and I'm just watching with a scrutinous eye to see what they do, because you have to be very careful that you don't play into stereotypes. Because, for example, it seems it would appear that Mel has a problem with male authority of any kind. So she's always picking on Harry, or she's always antagonizing Harry, their white lighter. Now, but to be fair, like I said in the last podcast, Harry works at the university too, and he's the head of female studies, or women's studies. So in that regard, I understand Mel's frustration and anger with that, because I get that. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out, and if he remains the head of women's studies, because that's kind of loopy. That's really loopy. So it'll be interesting to see if he keeps that position, and if that still becomes a point of contention between Mel and Harry. So we still don't know why their mom gave up Macy. We just know that she's a very intelligent, accomplished scientist who is used to keeping her feelings in reserve. She's not too excitable. And Maggie is very honest and open with her feelings. She's very relaxed, very in touch with herself, very compassionate. She's probably the most compassionate out of the three of them. They all have it. I mean, so what's cool about their dynamics and their personalities is So Macy's kind of cold, unintentionally, because she just doesn't want to lose control. She stuffs her feelings down. Maggie is kind of all over her feeling, all about her feelings, maybe a little too much. And Mel is just a little too hard. It's a little too angry. So, and with Mel, because, Mel she's dating a police officer, her girlfriend. So Mel is this lesbian woman who's a teacher, and she's got this animosity towards men. So like I said, we don't want to, so I'm just concerned that they don't play into stereotypes. Like, like she's this angry lesbian who doesn't like men, because that's not good. So I'm watching. The storylines are good. With the Exercise Your Demons, as I was saying before, Angela, she gets possessed by the Harbinger. They're at that Halloween party. The girls they put a spell on the house to lock everybody in, to protect them, but they didn't realize that the Harbinger was already in there. So the Harbinger goes after them. So of course, because this is their story, they catch the Harbinger. So now they had to bring the Harbinger to their attic upstairs. Now, mind you, these three girls, they're powerful witches, that the charmed ones, they're basically like superheroes. They have to keep their identity secret. They can't tell anybody who they can. They can't tell their friends or anybody they're involved with or they love. They're witches. They have to keep this secret. And it's got to be tough, because your mom dies, and then you find out you have an older sister that you never knew about, who's this incredible intellect. And, and Mel is an intellect too, and Maggie is still trying to find her way. She's the baby, so she's still trying to find her way. But I feel like her role in the family is like I think her character is great, because I think that she's the one who gets Mel and Macy to open up. I think, so she's not sure of herself because she's got these two older sisters who are established with their careers, and, she's pledging the sorority, and she still has to balance school. And in this episode, you see that, okay, well, I'm all about the sorority, but if I flunk out, I can't be a part of it. So I got to make sure I'm into my classes. But at the same time, I still don't know who I want to be. And, when you're in your 20s going to college, it's kind of, in some ways, it's kind of unfair, because you just got out of high school. Now, all of a sudden, you're supposed to know what you want to do with the rest of your life in your 20s? Seriously? Very unrealistic. So when people like in college and they change their major more than once, the more I think about it, I think that's a normal reaction. Because how do you just got out of high school. How are you supposed to know what you want to be for the rest of your life when you go to a new school? Now, of course, there are exceptions to that rule. There are some people who do know what they want to be. But, most of the time, it takes some time to figure that out. So, so Maggie's a little unsure of herself. Then there's this guy that she met, and she has chemistry with him, but she's kind of reserved. And don't forget, she can read people's minds. She's not even trying to. They just come into her head. So that's got to be really tough, because it gives you an unfair advantage. And sometimes you don't want to know what people are thinking. There are times when you want to know what someone's thinking. There are times where you really don't. So Maggie's got to have that fine line, that balance. And she's got to figure out, who she is and where she's going to be going. What she does know is that she loves her sisters and she likes being, a witch, but it's all about balance. Like I said, they can't tell anybody what they're doing. So this is really tough for Melanie, because, she really loves her girlfriend, this police officer. And let me see if I can find her name real quick. Nico. Yeah, she really loves Nico. So, and Nico's really cool. I like her character. So, now mind you, when they captured Angela, who's been possessed by the Harbinger, she had gone missing, so her parents were looking for her. So in this episode, Nico and her police partner, they come visit, Mel, Macy, and Maggie. They're like, well, we were told that this is the last place Angela was, Angela Wu. So can you tell us anything? And of course, the sisters were not expecting to be interrogated about Angela, and they got Angela upstairs locked up in chains, in the room, and they have it like they put a spell on her so she can't really move out of this like area, and she's vicious, she's possessed, and her power is gradually growing, and then the girls are agitated slightly, especially Melanie, because they want to know, when are the elders going to get here so they can take her off our hands? Because, they have this demon they're hiding in their closet, in their attic. That's not everyday life, but it's kind of becoming that way for the Charmed ones. More about Charmed after this break.
Want to know the latest and hottest music hitting the airwaves? Don't be left out. Listen to the Golden State Media Concepts Music Podcast. Keith keeps you on the loop with everything you need to know from pop, rock, hip-hop, and the top 40. And we'll throw in news of your favorite artists, concert and tour dates, and so much more. Listen no further, because this is the gold standard in music podcast.
And welcome back. Once again, you're listening to Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast, also known as GSMC Podcast Network. This is your Captain Keith, and we're talking about the Charmed ones. Charmed, the 2018 reboot of this new version of the series. So as I was saying before, so Nico and her police partner are, questioning, the girls about Angela Wu since she was last seen at their party. And they're just kind of nervous, and you could tell they're hiding something. But Nico gives them the benefit of the doubt because she's like, hey, they're not used to police. Of course they're going to be nervous. We carry guns. And, Nico makes a comment that any people of color would be nervous around police and guns. So that was very interesting when she made that remark. I was like, okay. That wouldn't have been said, in the earlier version of the series. So it was interesting to see that. But, so Nico and her partner leave, and then of course Mel's like, hey, I'll see you later. And then they're looking like, oh, but now before they leave though, of course Angela's making noises upstairs. So like, what's that? And they're trying to figure out what to say, and all of a sudden this blonde haired lady comes downstairs named Charity, and she's like, oh, I'm sorry about that. We're redecorating the attic, and we're moving some things here and there, and sorry for the noise. And girls, you want to go with this or with that, or the Victorian era style for the interior and the walls, or what? So, and the girls are just adapting, like they're like looking like a deer in the headlights, but they're happy that someone's covering for them. So, and then Nico's like, oh, I didn't know you were going to redecorate the attic. Like, oh yeah, definitely. So, Nico and her partner leave, and then the girls are like, who are you? And she's like, I'm Charity, I'm an elder. And then Macy lights up like, really? You're an elder? So, because she's like, oh, I thought you'd be so much older. She goes, yeah, I know everyone thinks we're old. We got to work on our marketing and our branding. So when she said that was really cute and funny. Like, just because I'm an elder doesn't mean I have to look old. So, Charity being an elder means that basically, and then you find out that she runs her own, she's the CEO of her own company that is strictly for, they give, they fund women, in their independent businesses. So I forget, so it's like a venture capitalist to help women in business. And the empowerment of female-owned and ran businesses. So, it's really cool to hear her talk about who she is. So, yeah, she's a witch, but she has a real-life job where she's a CEO of her own company. So, that was cool to hear all that. So, because we, sometimes when we're watching TV, we take so much for granted sometimes. Hearing someone say that she's a CEO and that she has a company that is, their sole purpose is to support women in their own endeavors financially with their own companies. That's something that you weren't going to hear 30 to 40 years ago. You sure weren't going to hear 50 and 60 years ago. So, it's good to see, parts of television growing, and getting better and evolving. So, but it was cool to watch the interaction. And she's like, girls, I knew your mother. She was great. She was an elder too. And when Harry sees her, he's kind of smitten with her. And, but he addresses her, formally. Yeah. And he's like, girl, she's like royalty. And Mel's like, Harry, enough with that love of the monarchy. I was just starting to like you. I don't want to hear that right now. And Charity was like, well, so here's what's going to happen when the moon turns a certain color later on this night. we're going to have to kill her. Here's your daggers for all of you to kill her. So, and of course, remember, it's called Exercise Your Demons. So the girls were thinking, what do you mean? We thought you were just going to, give her exorcism. And they're like, the Harbinger is too powerful. Your friend is gone. She's not in there anymore. So this is what we have to do. So now, mind you, so that's going to be what the issue is. So, the Charmed want to meet their first elder, and, there's a pecking order. The elders, and then basically everybody else. So White Lighters listen to the elders, but these three girls, as the Charmed ones, are the most powerful witches outside of the elders. And they find out through Charity that their mom was an elder. So, and it's just more information that they had no idea. And it just, and there's just, you can just see how tough it is for Macy, because, she's the oldest and she didn't get to spend time with her mom. So it's a good episode, because there's just more things that you find out about, what it means to, protocol, what witches must do. And then the girls are finding out things about themselves, like, Macy is a scientist, so she's always thinking with logic. She always prefers to go to logic over emotions. And, basically she's afraid of her emotions. There's a guy that she likes at the lab, and, she's, I don't know, when you watch the show, you just get the feeling that maybe she's never really had a boyfriend. So, which is very interesting, because she's this grown woman who's accomplished. But, she seems to be the type who buried herself in work, whereas Melanie is the type who's trying to have a work-life balance and still find her way in the world. And Maggie is just trying to figure out who she is still. She's the baby. So she's got two big, she thought she only had one big sister. Now she's got two. So it's an adjustment. Yeah, it is. So, and it's just, she has to deal with hearing other people's thoughts and their feelings and emotions as an empath, and trying to figure out what her feelings are about things and where she wants to go. Macy plays it safe a little too much. So, and that's something that she has to deal with. And, maybe it's said that maybe Mel doesn't play it safe enough. So, and now when they meet Charity, she seems like a very nice lady, this elder. And they were expecting, so you don't know how many elders are left. And it was cool to find out that their mom was one. And then when I'm asking myself, because in the original series, and I can't help but go back to it, because it's just a point of reference that I have. Even though their mother was dead, she would come back as a spirit and talk to the girls. Now that changed once they wrote off Shannon Doherty's character Prue when she died. Because technically speaking, she should have been able to come back as a spirit and talk to the girls, but you never saw her again. But yeah, I've got my own. I stuck with the original series after Shannon Doherty left, and I wish I wouldn't have. It was never the same. It was never as good. It just wasn't. So, and mind you, I never watched the original version of Beverly Hills 90210. So, I heard things about Shannon Doherty, all these different things. But, I love supernatural stuff. I love fantasy and science fiction. So, and plus, like I told you guys before, the theme music, the intro to Charmed was How Soon Is Now, done by Love Spit Love, which was an offshoot of the Psychedelic Furs and Richard Butler. So I got to hear Richard Butler sing a Smith song, and it was just really cool. So that intro and then the premise of the story got my attention, and I really loved the first 3 seasons. And like I said, Julian McMahon, he was on The Profiler. He left the Profiler TV series and went to Charmed as Baltazar, and he got to come up, off of charm. He got more notoriety. He was great on that show as Phoebe / Alyssa Milano's love interest, who was like half demon. So, but like I was saying, so that's my point of reference. So I'm wondering, are we going to see the mom come on? Will there ever be a situation where Macy gets a chance to talk to her mother and find out what happened? Why weren't you there? She gets some insight in this episode. I'm not going to tell you how, but she gets some insight. You have to watch to find out. But, what happened, and then where is Mel and Maggie's father? So, as I said before, the only thing I'm liking the storyline and what I'm seeing, and I still don't know if we're going to get warlocks and if they're going to be bad guys automatically, and only white lighters are the good guys. So, because in the original series, white lighters were basically like angels. So, and we do know, and so you don't know how long have they been around. They're older than what they look like. So, which is probably the power of magic as well. So, just curious to see if we're going to find out what happened to Maggie and Mel's father, and Macy's father, actually, all three of them, and will we ever see the mom interact with all three girls now that they're the charmed ones? She left things for them. She was trying to prepare them for that, but she died before she could have a conversation with them. So can you imagine, having, your parent die and you find out that they had this big secret that affected your life, that would change your life forever, about you and about them? I mean, how do you adjust to all that? So, I mean, this episode was good. The Harbinger is definitely off the chain. They're growing stronger and stronger. There's a scene where a mouse comes in his vicinity. The Harbinger touches the mouse, and the mouse just gets like charcoal to death by the touch of the hand. That's all it did. It didn't eat the mouse. It just touched it with the hand and just singed it. It's like, whoa, okay. So we're doing that now. All right. So, yeah, the episode ends, and there's a few twists and turns in this episode. I would say that much. So, and like I said too, it's interesting to see what the hierarchy is, and it's going to be interesting to see what more the sisters find out about themselves and the power of this book, and what all the different spells are. Because at one point you see Melanie ask the book a question, and it just starts turning to a page. Very cool. Without anyone moving it with their hands. So, and then, Harry, what's his story? What's his background? How did he become a white lighter? How old is he? Are there other white lighters? And what's going on? So, it's a good show. I'm digging it. I'm looking forward to seeing how these three actresses have great chemistry with each other. When you watch the show, I believe that they are sisters. And their personalities are each very distinct. I look forward to seeing how they grow and how they are influenced by each other. So Maggie, to me, is already showing that she's kind of the heart of the three of them. So, because it seems like what Macy and Mel have in common is they're both strong-willed. Mel can be more emotional. And whereas, like I said, Macy is a lot more reserved because she's the scientist and she's trying to use logic. But it's interesting that they made her a scientist and a witch at the same time, because I don't think I've ever actually seen that combination before. So that's an original thing. And is that a contradiction? Is it a contrast? Is that something that you have to battle and deal with now because you're finding out that, well, maybe logic isn't what I thought it was, and maybe, now Macy's forced to deal in a gray area. But this episode is really good because there's, like I said, there's lots of twists and turns, and there's some events that happen that the girls are forced to deal with. Like I said before, they can't tell people who they are. So they're like, these are like their secret identities. They're like superheroes. It's kind of cool in that sense. But I'm looking forward to seeing the different beings to pop up, the different storylines. I like the chemistry, but like I said, there's just some unanswered questions that I'm very curious and concerned about. Like, because I definitely want to see what's going on with the fathers and how they're portrayed. Because, like I said before in the last podcast, it's all about the balance when it comes to strong-willed human beings. Definitely. This is a show about strong women living and trying to balance their lives in the supernatural world and make things right and, saving the world and never getting credit for it. So that's got to be a lot to deal with. You're saving the world and not getting credit for it, and you can't tell people what you've done, and how it affects you. But tune into Charmed. It's on the CW, I believe, on Sundays. Check it out. We'll be back and talk about Daredevil Season 3 after this break.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And once again, you're listening to Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast. This is your Captain Keith. Just finished talking about Charmed, the new reboot of it on the CW network. It's the 2018 version. It's pretty cool. You should check it out. Can't wait to see where it's going to go next. The twists and turns. Everyone's doing a great job performance-wise. Real chemistry. So now, Daredevil Season 3. Yes. Off of Netflix. Before I go into that, so I talked to a friend of mine, and I was all bummed out because, they canceled Iron Fist after Season 2, and they canceled Luke Cage after Season 2, but they kept Jessica Jones, Punisher, and Daredevil. So my friend told me, and you may be hearing from him soon enough. I got plans for him as well to work with him. He told me that, well, here's the thing. He said, Keith, he doesn't know that I'm captain. So my secret identity. He says, well, they didn't cancel Jessica Jones because they were already filming Season 3. They didn't cancel The Punisher because they were already filming Season 2. They didn't cancel Daredevil because they were already filming Season 3. And Disney's going to do their own streaming service, which means it's possible that Luke Cage may get a Season 3 on Disney. Maybe Iron Fist Season 2. Now, he said, so he didn't like Iron Fist. And, it got a lot of bad reviews. I enjoyed it. I asked him why he didn't like it. He said, well, Keith, because when he was doing the Kung Fu or the martial arts, it didn't look believable to him. And I'm like, okay, out of everybody who was doing it, he kind of was the weakest out of everybody. So I can kind of see the gripe with that. But I did enjoy both seasons. I still enjoyed it. But I can see where he's coming from. I get that. But he also stated that because in the comic book, Iron Fist and Luke Cage teamed up a few times. So they might do a spinoff called Heroes for Hire. I don't know if the Defenders will be going to Disney, or I don't know what's going on. So we'll see. But apparently that's why the other shows didn't get canceled, because they were already in production for the third season and the second season. So otherwise they would have been all canceled because Disney's basically taking it all back, it looks like. So it'll be interesting, which just means that Netflix will have to get some new stuff that they have exclusive rights to. Because I really enjoy watching all those Marvel series on Netflix. They're darker and grittier and edgier. So let's get to it. Daredevil season 3 basically picks up where the Defenders ended and left off at. So what I will read to you is a little brief synopsis. Matt Murdock is Daredevil, a blind lawyer who can see like silhouettes, and he has super hearing and super senses. So a brief synopsis of episode 1, season 3. Shattered physically and spiritually, Matt rethinks his purpose and place in Hell's Kitchen. Meanwhile, Fisk puts a plan in motion from behind bars. Okay, so let's talk. Let's talk turkey, as someone once said to me. So Wilson Fisk is played by Vincent D'Onofrio. His comic book name as Daredevil's most dangerous enemy and villain, arch nemesis, is Kingpin. Where do I begin? Vincent D'Onofrio is amazing. He is one of the greatest actors you should ever get a chance to watch. His portrayal of Kingpin is flawless. His mannerisms, the physicality. I mean, he almost kind of steals the show. I mean, so when you're a writer, it's great to have a good superhero, and it's great to have an antagonist. Sometimes the villains are more charismatic than the heroes. It's just the truth. What I like about Daredevil, Matt Murdock, is that, you know, he cares about the city, but he often likes to isolate himself. He can be very closed off. Sometimes he cuts people. He isolates himself from the people he shouldn't be isolating himself from. When he lets you in, he's very funny and warm, but he seems like he can be very cold, without trying to be, very stubborn and not thinking things through. But as a superhero, he's great for Hell's Kitchen. You know, that's a section in New York, of course. But yeah, so Wilson Fisk, aka Kingpin, is in jail, and so at this point, I can say this much. Matt has decided to isolate himself from his best friend Foggy, his name is Franklin Nelson, aka Foggy, played by Eldon Henson. That's his former law partner. And Deborah Ann Wall plays Karen Page, who was an office manager, who's now this star reporter for the local newspaper. She's also great because she used to be on True Blood. That's the first time we saw her. So, and yeah, she was great on True Blood. So on this show, she kind of has her hair kind of blonde, strawberry blondish, where she was a redhead on True Blood. So, and yeah, she's, yeah. Sorry, I got distracted just thinking about her character. Joanne Whalley joins the cast as Maggie Grace, who's a nun. Jay Ali joins the cast as Rahul Ray Nadeem. He's an FBI agent. He does a great job too. So Joanne Whalley and Jay Ali, two characters, Maggie Grace, sister Maggie Grace. You know, and you gotta love the nun, last name Grace. Come on, they're messing with us, right? Pun intended. And Jay Ali, Agent Nadeem, great job. Wilson Bethel joins the cast as Benjamin Dex Poindexter. Dex is his nickname. You almost don't recognize him. He used to play Wade Consuelo, I believe, on Heart of Dixie. That's where I first saw him. He's also done a TV series in the CWC, which is an online TV network, webisode network for CW. I think he seemed like he was a little bit shorter, and he was definitely younger when he was doing Heart of Dixie. But he's definitely older, and he might have gotten taller. He looks taller. You don't recognize him. He does a great job of playing an FBI agent. He's Agent Nadeem's colleague, and he's pretty bad. He's pretty tough. He's really good with the gun. And Stephen Ryder plays Blake Tower, the DA, district attorney. So this is the primary character. Charlie Cox is Matt Murdock as Daredevil. He is Matt Murdock. He does a great job playing that role. And so what's going on is that now that Wilson Fisk is in jail, he's got to figure out a way to get out of jail. Yeah, and apparently Agent Nadeem, the FBI agent played by Jay Ali, has been working for the FBI for a while, never received a raise. He had a sister who had, I believe, leukemia, and he had to mess up his credit just to save her, pay for medical bills. And I hate how realistic that sounds. So he comes into work. He's happily married with a son, and he goes into work and he's just like, he wants to talk to his boss. He's like, hey, why haven't I been up for a promotion or a raise? Why do you guys keep calling off my review? And his boss, she's like, well, we're protecting you. He goes, what do you mean? Because you have a low credit score, and your credit score could be a marker and an indicator, a bad sign in regards to terrorism for government agents. And I'm thinking to myself, the fact that people will discriminate against you because of your credit score is just really creepy and disturbing. Yes, that's my opinion. That is not the opinion of Golden State Media Concepts. That is just Captain Keith's opinion. So, but like I said, it was frightfully realistic when he had that conversation with him. You can see the look on his face like, you gotta be kidding me. It had nothing to do with his work merit, with his merit of work and how hard that he works at his job. So, he's frustrated because he's making promises to his son that they're going to get a pool and, get some more things for the house. And his wife is like, hey, I can get another job, work some more so we can so we can have more money. He's like, no, you shouldn't have to do that. So it's just, his character is really cool. He seems like a really nice agent. He seems like somebody who really wants to do the right thing, believes in his country, and he believes in, doing the right thing instead of the wrong thing. He joined the FBI for a reason, because he wanted to be a good guy. Takes it very seriously. So that's, his character. When the series opens up, Matt Murdock is just like bloodied and badly beaten. And someone finds him and he basically says, take me to the church. So he gets taken to the church and he finds out this is the church that he grew up in as a young kid when his father died. So when his father died, he was basically like an orphan, raised in church. And he was blind. So you lose your eyesight and your only parent is dead. Yeah, that's not that's going to suck. So it's amazing that he was able to put himself through law school, be out there fighting for the people of his community as a lawyer, and at nighttime being a superhero, a vigilante. So that's, interesting. That dynamic is great to see. You get to see the people in the church fixing him up. The one pastor, the one father who basically kind of raised him, he knows he's Daredevil. And then this nun, Sister Maggie Grace, who's tending to his bruises, she knows he's Daredevil. So for whatever reason, they know his secret. Still don't know how they figured it out, but they do. And Matt is just, he's just a mess. And he's just, right now he's trying to heal. Right now he's got damage in one of his ears. He doesn't know if he's going to get his powers back. So, he feels like Matt Murdock is kind of lost, and all I think he has left is Daredevil, and he's on the verge of possibly losing that. So he's trying to cope. And, but Sister Maggie Grace is always kind of on him. She takes care of him. She talks to him. She engages with him. It's really interesting. Foggy's moved on. Foggy works for a very prestigious law firm. He's got a beautiful girlfriend who works there too. He's making good money, but you can tell Foggy should be really happy with what he's doing with his status, but he's not. You can tell he misses what he did with Matt. Even though they weren't making a whole lot of money, they were in it for the people, for the fight, Talk some more about Daredevil Season 3 after this break.
Want to find out what movies to go see? Then check out the GSMC Movie Podcast. It's your ticket to the latest movies, whether it's a new blockbuster event, romantic, comedy, or action flick. This show has got it all covered. They talk some what to go see now. Don't bother. What's hot on Netflix and everything in between. That's GSMCpodcast.com/movie-podcast. When it's all about the movies, it has to be this new show. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit GSMCpodcast.com for more info.
And once again, you're listening to Golden State Media Concepts television podcast. This is your Captain Keith talking about Daredevil Season 3. So basically what's happening, Matt is trying to recover in this church, and he's isolated himself, so nobody knows where he's at, with the exception of people in the church. And Wilson Fisk is in jail and missing his girlfriend who's overseas. He finds out that his girlfriend can't come back to America because she'll be tried as a criminal, as a felon. So he's got to figure out what he can do to keep her safe, because that's all he really cares about. He only cares about his girlfriend and then power, basically. Very fascinating character. Very. I mean, he's truly like a psychopath / sociopath. He's a good mixture of both, it seems. So, what winds up happening, Wilson Fisk. So basically, Agent Nadeem is told to go to jail, go to the prison, and talk to Fisk. Every few months, they go in there and they talk to him, try to get him to make a deal. So, Nadeem goes. And he's like, okay, just tell me to screw off now and I get out of here. And he meets with Wilson Fisk. And surprisingly, Wilson Fisk is like, I'm ready to talk. I want to make a deal. So Wilson Fisk decides he wants to flip on the Albanians, and he wants to start giving information on how to take down certain crime organizations within Hell's Kitchen. In exchange, he wants to be able to leave the prison and go somewhere else for like house arrest. So Agent Nadeem goes back and tells his people what Fisk wants. They're like, okay, we'll go for it. So the next thing you see is Fisk out in the prison yard, and he's lifting weights, and the guy goes to spot him as he's bench pressing, and the guy stabs him like in his stomach and calls him a snitch. And then Fisk gets up, takes the barbell and throws it on the guy. At least the barbell bar. And he takes the dead weight, raises it over his head as if he wants to smash the guy's head in. And then at the last minute, he doesn't do it. So you see Fisk walking with the side of his stomach, with the blood on it from getting stabbed. So that just hastens the FBI in their decision in regards to making sure they make a deal with him and getting him out of that prison. So they do transfer him to a hotel where he's under house arrest. And they told him that you keep your end of the deal up, and we will make sure that your girlfriend, will not be tried when she comes back to America. And they're like, but we want more information from you. Otherwise, it's not going to work. So he starts giving out more information. He starts flipping on the Albanians, the Albanian crime organization. And so that gets interesting. And they give him an ankle monitor, and he gets to be in this penthouse. And of course, when the people find out of Hell's Kitchen that Wilson Fisk has been released from prison and put into a hotel, they're furious. They're protesting, about it. They're like, what is this? They can't believe it. Now, mind you, no one's seen Daredevil for a while, so they don't know if he's alive or dead. And like I said, Matt is basically struggling with himself to figure out who he is. He doesn't know if he's going to get better or not. So he's just, kind of feeling sorry for himself and isolating himself from everyone. And of course, Sister Maggie Grace is always engaging with him, and, she's giving him some tough love for the most part. When the pastor tries to talk to him, Matt's just not really in a talkative mood right away. And like I said, his body still needs to heal. Because, like in his one, I think it's his left ear, he can't hear. And he's just not as agile as he was before. So he doesn't know what's going to happen. And then eventually he finds out that, Fisk has been released from jail and put into a penthouse. So he's freaking out like, what's going on? Because basically Matt Murdock and Foggy were responsible for getting him arrested. These lawyers with this underdog practice. So, but what you don't know is one of the cool things about this season, when they're transferring Wilson Fisk from the jail to this penthouse downtown, there's an attempt on his life. The van that he's being carried in, they get charged at, and they get sprayed with bullets. A few different cars come up and block them off, and they start, a gunfight starts, and a lot of these agents who are sent to protect Fisk are dying, in the gunfire because the Albanians are coming, they're trying to kill him. Because they're like, what, you going to turn on us? Really? So, and, Fisk has handcuffs on. He's, freaking out a little bit. He doesn't know what's going to happen. He doesn't know if he's going to get killed there or not. So, all the FBI agents except for one wind up dead. Well, two, because at first when I saw it, I thought Nadeem was dead too because he was there. But he didn't get hurt. So, but you don't see that till a little bit later on. But there's one guy who pops up, winds up killing the last of the Albanian crime crew. And he's Dex. And that's when you first see his character. Very straight edge. Very talented agent. And I will say this. The ensemble cast in this show is excellent. Dex's character, you are in for so many surprises with him. Pay attention to him in that role. And Karen Page, played by Deborah Wool, pay attention to her too. Deborah Ann Wall. Her character goes through some changes too. So you get to see that. And as I said before, watching Vincent D'Onofrio as Wilson Fisk is just such a treat. He's just so menacing, and he's so, when he speaks, he's always speaking very calm and measured and reserved. But you can hear like the simmering anger and brutality in his voice. You got to pay close attention because it's there. He's very controlled. He's too controlled. And what I mean when I say that is because even in the last two seasons, you see him lose it on people. And he loses it in a very physical and spectacular way. So, and that's still in him. Definitely. And like I was saying too about Foggy, Franklin Nelson, you get to see more of his family. You find out that his parents have a deli, and that helped him, that helped get him to school. I mean, he has a very cool working class, middle class family that loves him. And one of the first scenes you see before he walks in the door is his nephews and nieces run up to him, hug him, and start pulling out of his pockets. What do you got? And he's like, I didn't bring anything, but he brought them gifts. It was really cute. They were happy to see him. And then watching him and his family dynamic, and then his mom's talking to him about his dad, and like, he's getting old, he's getting arthritis. He doesn't need to be a butcher anymore or working at the deli. He needs to retire. So, I love watching these shows, these superhero shows, and you see families interact, especially in whatever is considered to be a normal way. So, because now one thing I've noticed that's become kind of like a cliche to an extent is all these superheroes seem to have these flawed and tragic parents. And I'm like, can we have a superhero who has like nice parents they're just not flawed and tragic? Can you still want to be a superhero and come from a good background? Is that possible? I mean, I guess you might say the Superman was kind of like that, but his parents were adopted and his birth parents were dead. So once again, kind of flawed, or just kind of tragic. No, his were kind of tragic, which were tragic. So, but yeah, so, seeing Foggy in the deli with his family interact with them and his younger brother who took over the family business, that was real cool to watch. And watching Jay Ali, Agent Nadeem with his family was cool to watch as well. But like I said, watching the mind of Wilson Fisk work is truly intriguing and fascinating. He tries to psychoanalyze everybody, and everyone's so guarded when they're around him. And you never know what he's going to do next. But what you can see is like he doesn't seem to have a conscience, unless you're talking about his girlfriend Vanessa, which is intriguing that this man who is so powerful, violent, and brutal is so love-struck for this woman who's overseas. But you can hear it in his voice, the concern and love he has for her. And it drives him. It definitely drives him. But Dex winds up saving Wilson Fisk from being shot at that van when they're trying to transport him to the penthouse. So, and that just makes things even more messed up and complicated for the FBI, because now they got agents who are dead, some who are injured, and they're all like, "Was this worth it?" And they're counting everything on Fisk and his testimony. Fisk has found a way to get what he wants in a roundabout way. Ironically, while being the worst criminal that Hell's Kitchen's ever seen. But even with that, you still don't see that yet, but you know it's coming. You know that he's just not done. Because what was interesting is that reading the comic book briefly, knowing that Kingpin, is Daredevil's ultimate, enemy, and we watched Netflix's series with Daredevil, the first 2 seasons, and he was Wilson Fisk. The only way I knew who he really was, that he was going to be Kingpin, was because he was bald. So I guess I wasn't paying attention when I was reading the comic book that was his real name. But it was interesting to see. You get to see the evolution of Wilson Fisk as he becomes Kingpin. So let me say it like that. You get to see that. So, and more great writing with this story, because Dex's character is very riveting. Like I said, played by Wilson Bethel. Lots of twists and turns and surprises with that guy. And what else is there to say? There's some backstories that you'll see in this season that are really enlightening and eye-opening. Joanne Whalley does a great job as Sister Maggie Grace. She's great. And Eldon Henson as Foggy is just so charming and charismatic. He's like, he seems to be like the boy next door that you actually wouldn't mind having your niece or daughter date, because he just seems like he's a good kid. He comes across that way, which is, and he's a lawyer. So, he's definitely, and Matt's very honest too, Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil, but Matt is darker. And I think him and Foggy, that's like the opposites attract, or, you know, complete, because he seems to be kind of like the heart and pulse, you know, of that firm and of their friendship. But I will say this, though. The Kingpin, a.k.a. Wilson Fisk, has plans within plans. And Karen Page, the reporter, she doesn't trust it. I mean, once Karen finds out that he got moved to a penthouse, you know, everyone's on edge. You know, yeah, they know he's testifying for the FBI or cooperating with them, but they know more is happening. So the question is more happening, or is he just doing this because he wants to protect his girlfriend? You know, but what's his end game? Because Wilson Fisk always has an end game. And what's going to happen with Matt as Daredevil? You know, will he get his powers back? Will he get his hearing back? Will he be whole again? Will he want to go back out in the streets and fight the good fight? You know, will he keep on, you know, isolating himself from the people who love him? And will Agent Nadeem ever get that promotion that he wants and the money that he needs to take care of his family? And is there a price to pay for him being Fisk point man, basically? Because after a while, you know, that's what happens. I mean, there's just layers within layers of this show, and it's all we're talking about. It really is. But yeah, my favorite people to watch on this is definitely, I'm going to say, Vincent D'Onofrio. Charlie Cox is a great Daredevil. Everyone does a great job. The acting is stellar on this show. I mean, I want to tell you more. I would just say there's layers within layers. Things get really crazy and really dark. The new people definitely pull their weight. Look out for, like I said, look out for Dex. Look out for him. Look out as you find out who Agent Nadeem really is. Look out and see. His character is a great character to watch. Sister Maggie Grace, she's a pistol. That's all I'm going to say. She's a pistol. She doesn't pull punches with Matt. I like their chemistry. And Karen Page, on the right track, but she still has some issues and things she has to work out. So watching her character, season three was great because you get to learn more about everybody. Stuff that you didn't expect to learn, and it was very riveting to watch. Very riveting. And there's a really cool twist with two major characters, but you'll have to tune in to watch season 3 on Netflix to see what I'm talking about. But everyone's doing a great job. But my favorite, like I said, Vincent D'Onofrio is just great in this role. This is also the same guy who played Powell in Full Metal Jacket. He was a bad guy in Men in Black. You know, he's done all kinds of things. He's been on Law and Order as a regular. He's a great actor. He not afraid to shave his head, not afraid to lose weight or gain weight for a role. He commits fully. So, and I enjoy watching Joanne Whalley too, Sister Maggie Grace. But yeah, there's definitely layers within layers with this show. And Jay Ali as Agent Nadeem did a great job. I look forward to seeing him in other things. And yeah, everyone was great. The chemistry was, and the writing for this season was excellent. It might be better than the first two. And I think that was possible. But I really enjoyed it. Well, good people of the planet Earth and the known universe, you've been listening to Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast. This is your Captain Keith. Thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you all. Hope you had a good time. I know that I did. And until next time, I will be talking about season 6 of House of Cards. Oh yeah, that's on my list this week to binge on with Robin Wright. Oh yes, yes. So we will be talking about that next week. But that's as far as I've gotten. I don't know what other TV show. You have to tune in and find out what other TV show I'm talking about. But definitely House of Cards season 6 will be one for next week. So thanks again. Good people of the planet Earth and the known universe. And until next time, See you somewhere out in space.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Television Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. From movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.